All right, here's an article. Child marriages are up in the pandemic. Here's how India tries to stop them. First of all, this is bullshit. It is not a child marriage. Secondly, why is India trying to stop it? Why don't they just stop it? How come it's still going on? No. First of all, let's get to the article. Sometime the call comes from a teenage girl. Okay, she's not a child then. India's age of consent is 16, just like here in Canada. So just being a teenager alone doesn't make it a child. She has to be below 16. Okay. She's pleading for help, saying her parents are trying to get her married, but wants to stay in school. Says VJ Mutar. I'm not saying if it's muter or mutter. I'd say it's muter. But the point is, let me check this out at the bottom. Well, I want to go down. Okay. Muter, she wants to study humanities and will start 11th grade whenever her school reopens. This is one thing I love about Google. I checked up the starting age for children who start school, and they give it at age 6. So if she's in 10 now and you start at 6, she's 16, so she's not a child. I'm blowing that right out of the water. Also, all you guys who hate the fact that we generalize, she's going for the humanities, right? All right. He's a child protection officer in the town of Silapur in south central India. After India went under coronavirus lockdown, funny, eh? His phone has been ringing off the hook. He's hearing from girls under age 18, from village elders, and from social activists and childcare workers. Why are they saying underage, under 18? India's age of consent is 16. So there's no point in them using 18. This is to demonize men because they're talking about girls. By the way, little boys are suffer this kind of marriage as well. It's just that they don't give a shit about them. Now, the message from all these callers: desperate parents left without livelihood in the middle of a pandemic are rushing to marry off their underage daughter. This girl is underage. In India, it is legal for a girl underage of 18 to wed. Okay. The legal age for men to marry is 21. It's higher for men. Why is it higher for men? Because the guys have to gain status before they're allowed to marry girls. Probably 21 is when they probably get their university done and they're on the way to a job and they're allowed to marry someone. If it's really about children, how come the age different for the different genders, right? Data provided to NPR by the government of the Western India state of Maharashtra, where Mutar's district is located, shows the officials have stopped 218 child marriages in the 5 months from April through August. By comparison, authorities halted 116 marriages in 12 months. Look, I'm actually bogging things down. The thing I want to mention is that these parents can't look after their children financially. So what are they doing? They're making a victim of some poor guy. They're telling some guy, you be the daddy. You look after our child for us. If they were honest, why wouldn't they come to these guys and say, look, as parents can't look after our children. Would you become the new parent? Because that's what they're really looking for. And they know the average guy would say, why am I going to look after someone else's child? Or better yet, if I'm looking after this person's child, this is my child now, then she doesn't have anything to do with you from now on because you're not her parents. So this is the usury of men, right? Say, oh, you're not, we're not actually going to stop seeing her and being her loved ones. but you get to be her little workhorse. So you work for us, and then if I can come by and bust in daddy and say, daddy's home. Where's my little girl? Nationwide data is not available yet, but there's concerns throughout India and indeed around the world. Wow, that the pandemic is bringing an increase in child marriage. Of course, this is a child marriage again, right? The if you're talking about this girl who's 16, it's not a child marriage. It may be illegal for her to marry below 18, but she's not a child according to their own laws. So this is something to demonize men who are willing, good enough to take this girl and look after them. And meanwhile, the underage boys that are starving, they can just starve. The numbers are already high. Estimated 1.5 million underage girls. Right. The example they used was not underage, though. Okay. Well, 12 million underage girls worldwide get married each year. You know why that is? Because the parents are in on it. The mother's in on it. You know what? The mother got married to some loser, some sucker. And these women don't have to work. So they got some sucker to look after their daughter for them. And you know something? Their only promise is hey, here's a girl who's at the prime of her beauty, and you get regular sex. Only they don't get regular sex. Regular married guys don't get regular sex ever. So he's getting nothing. Absolutely nothing. This girl he marries doesn't have to go and get a job. Oh, by the way, back at the start again, at the end of it, she wants to go back to school and study humanities. How's she going to pay for it? Her parents aren't going to, they're having trouble just feeding her. So where's she getting the money? So this destroys all this narrative that this bullshit article is giving. This is a bullshit article, and it's a bullshit narrative. Let's see. Get back on track. Before the pandemic, under the government's midday meal scheme, students from lower income families would get one meal at their school for free. But with the schools closed, the meals have stopped, and the parents are scrambling to feed their kids. Okay, then. Again, how is that girl going to be going to school? None of these girls are going to go to higher education. Their parents can't even feed them. They're also worried about the virus, which is now spreading in rural areas where healthcare facilities are scarce. Right. So the guys, they're marrying them off. Are they in the rural areas? They might be, but my guess is they're probably urbanites. They say, here, take my daughters to safety. They think if I die, what will happen to my family? So they think it's better to get the girl married now. They feel like it's their duty. They also think that authorities are so busy with the coronavirus that they can get away with this. Well, they're going to get away with it anyway because, frankly, the girls often want to get married. Look, this girl who doesn't want to get married at first, why? Because her school is where her friends are. She wants to go with the girls and gab with the girls and be with her girlfriends. Because she may want to go to university. She might have plans, but her parents may not be able to afford it. If they're marrying her off, they can't afford it. So it's a false narrative about her going to university. She just wants to hang with her friends. But why would a man's family want to assume the additional financial burden of his wife? Yeah, why would he? One motive could be India's skewed sex ratio. There are more men than women. That's right. It's the same reason for China. And you know why? Because, like I have this video, boys aren't valued more than girls. Their usage is. These poor countries that are actually building up the first world countries, they want boys because boys do the labor. And now it's coming to bite the boys on the ass. Parents don't give a shit about these guys. To find brides in the face of this sex ratio imbalance from traditional marriage age men must reach into younger female cohorts. Look, younger girls have been coming on to older men and partnering up with them forever. This is just a more extreme version of it. And of course, they're still using child brides. The girl they're talking about isn't a child in any way or form. At 16, she's a young woman. And she's a young woman who just wants to stay in school with her friends. Singh says, often a man seeking a child bride, no, he's seeking a bride, is a widower or someone who can't find a bride his own age. Yeah, exactly. Because of the, first of all, a lot of guys are deselected no matter what. It's that way here in Canada. There's no, but also it's got the double whammy of having more men than girls. So the guys take what they can get. At the very least, they say, well, she's younger than I wanted, but she's somebody. But these guys are going to get what? Demonized, right? As these dirty old men. And it's not going to be the parents. The parents aren't going to be, even though they're the ones who are initiating it, they're not going to be blamed. Why? Because mommy's involved. Such a man who would normally have a hard time looking for a bride finds it easier to get one during a pandemic because parents of girls are eager to marry them off, says Singh. They're making it as if this guy is looking for it. Like they're going, oh, the pandemic's on. Good, here's my chance. No, this guy is zero to people and he's nobody to people. And once these parents find they can't pay for their children, then they come begging. Come take this burden onto yourself, you low-life man, you you servant boy. The families of boys may be willing to bear the additional financial burden, even in a pandemic, because the alternative would be a son who remains unmarried. There you go. So the boy's parents are thinking about him too. There's actually nothing going wrong here at all. There's nothing wrong. The only thing wrong, actually, I'm correcting myself. There's one thing wrong, is this attitude. Actually, I'll correct myself again. There's two things wrong. One is the attitude is the men get demonized. That's the number one. And they get blamed. And two is that these parents are taking advantage of these desperate men. That's what's wrong with this. One way to keep child marriages, no, they're not child marriages, in check during the pandemic is to recognize child protection workers as essential workers. I guess there's a protection workers, they need to, what do you call it there? Rationalize their job. Hey, my job is important. You need me for this. Where are these people when mothers are abusing their children? They're nowhere. To make sure they have access to protective equipment to continue to do the work, yeah, whatever. I don't care about that. They want a raise, I guess. Sabel also notes that child marriages spike during these because of the common belief that marrying a girl to a man protects her from violence from other men in the community. This is bullshit. Men don't attack young girls. That's a fact. So there's another false narrative. Singh witnessed the firsthand when her town saw an influx of men left unemployed because of the lockdown. There you go. Because these men, people don't give a shit about them. So no one cares about, why don't they get them jobs then? Young men have started behaving indecently, roaming around, yet they have no home to go to, catcalling girls or harassing them. Catcalling, there it is again. So they're concerned. They make this bullshit narrative. These guys are just saying, hey, baby, what's it going? And that's harassment and that's violence to against these girls. So of course they would have married them off, right? He said, hey, my little girl might shack up with some low status loser. So I've got to find some patsy, some loose sucker to marry her. God. Those kinds of concerns convince 40-year-old, Dattatray Shankar Sutar that a marriage should be arranged by his youngest niece, for his youngest niece. Her age, 17. That's right. She's not a child. Her father died in February. Okay, so she's a young woman who doesn't want to get a job then. When schools closed due to pandemic, she was left at home all day while her mother worked in the fields to earn money to feed Sal and her 10-year-old brother. Why doesn't she take Sal into the fields with her? She's a grown-ass woman. Make her work. Her brother's only 10 years old. You know what? If her brother was 17, he'd be in the fields with her. She'd say, get your lazy ass out to work. So this grown young woman is still being taken care of by her mother. So Sutar and other relatives arranged Sal's marriage to a man in his 20s. Oh no. She's 17 and he might be 25. I bet they actually look very good together. You'd look at them and say, yeah, that couple belongs together. We thought we should get her married for her own safety, not her safety, because these people don't want to make her work and they can't feed her. That's what's going on. And this poor guy in his 20, he's been burdened with her. And they have no respect for this guy. And society will demonize him. They are demonizing him. Community representative alerted authorities to intervene and convince the family to cancel the marriage. Convince them. Why didn't they arrest them, right? The family signed a statement promising not to marry off Sal and marry before she turns 18. So all that means they got to wait another 6 months, maybe. She may not even be a year away. Then they marry her off to this sucker. And then meanwhile, why are they convincing him again? It's supposed to be illegal, right? Why didn't they jail these two? Because then you'd have to jail mommy too, and they're not going to do that. I was relieved when the marriage was called off, says the teenager. I thought it was a child. I always felt strange about it, but I thought there was no other option. Yeah, the government, by the way, are they paying the parents to keep this grown-ass woman around? She's just not going to work in the fields, but she gets to go to school and hang with her buddies. And then how is she going to study the humanities? Who's going to pay for that? So the government doesn't look after these extra people, these girls, and their parents can't. And the government doesn't want some guy marrying her to look after her because he might get something out of it. The evil man might get to spoil her with sex. If they're married, then isn't it supposed to be sanctioned by God and it's no longer dirty? No, because it's always dirty to societies worldwide. This guy who's a little bit older is banging this one girl, and we got to stop that. So this is the kind of threat narrative, this false threat narrative that they're going to bring up worldwide now. It's worldwide because societies worldwide hate men. And if I was able to get a message out, I'd be talking to the Indian man saying, don't fall for this. There's no reason why you should look after someone else's child while being demonized for it. Indian society should be boycotted by young men. Thank you.